So we'll start with child care and pre-K. Got a lot of attention this week. House and Senate Democrats have filed mirror bills. One increases free preschool enrollment by lowering the income eligibility threshold. The other proposal lays out a phased approach based on the readiness of a district with an implementation goal of the 2034-35 school year.
It answers the predictable pushback. We can't do it overnight by building in implementation plans, phase timelines, partner flexibility, waiver pathways, and data transparency, and annual reporting to guide funding and policy decisions.
And on Thursday, the GOP-backed child care proposal, House Bill 6, was heard in committee. The proposal makes widespread reforms to child care regulations, quality ratings, assistance programs, and more. And it also creates new reporting requirements for financial transparency.
The biggest thing is this consensus legislation has a long-term focus of affordability, quality, and access. We're focusing on working families and affordability and ensures the quality of early learning, more access and options for parents. And these are long-term reforms, not quick fixes.
The committee also approved a resolution directing the Auditor's Office to commission a study on child care in Kentucky. Representative Lockett, let's start with House Bill 6. The recommendations of that bill came from a bipartisan commission by the Kentucky Chamber that occurred over an extended period of time. Do you believe it will actually address some of the needs we're seeing in regards to the child care shortage and workforce needs?
I think it does, and I think the plan that is put forward is a response to what we continue to hear from constituents, and that is child care is a real need. That's the reason why the Chamber is backing this bill and this strategy, is because when we have workforce shortages, we need to find ways to get people back to work. Child care is a big hurdle, and House Bill 6 corrects a lot of those hurdles.
Representative Brown, what do you make of the GOP proposal here, and where might there be some common ground with the Democratic proposal?
I'm not familiar with House Bill 6. I have not seen it, but the thing is that we have got to have the ability to have child care. We have to have parents are able to go to work to take care of their families, and it's really important for that to happen. Parents cannot work. I mean, if the children are not taken care of, so child care is fundamental and important.
House Bill 6 is going to be trying out a couple new things like micro centers, a military pilot program. Any uncertainty, especially among other GOP lawmakers, on some of these new practices creating hurdles? The question you're being, is the bill trying to do too much?
I don't think it is. I mean, I think it's a way to really get the conversation started. And as was stated in committee, this is a starting process, and we have to be serious about finding solutions to these issues. And this is one thing that we know in collaboration that we can come together and really make a big difference and solve the issues that we have here.
One key part that the GOP has brought up is meeting the need outside of standard school hours. So on the Democratic proposal for universal pre-K, how can that address some of these third shift or school break areas that may not be, where universal pre-K is not meeting in those traditional school hours?
I think that what we have to do is we have to tackle the thing with child care and with educating our young people. The sooner we can get them on the path of being educated and being viable, that's important. And I think that we do that as soon as we can.
With the proposals that have been filed, I believe, by Representative Domworth in the House, and we have those mirror proposals in the Senate, where do you see them moving right now? In prior sessions, pre-K proposals generally haven't even gotten a committee hearing.
I think that's tragic. That universal pre-K is important to get our children off to an early start, and it's getting children ready for the workforce down the road in an early perspective. And it also gives parents the ability to work and to take care of their children.
I'll bring the same question here to you, Representative Lockett, that I brought to Representative Brown earlier. Is there any sort of middle ground in the GOP proposal that could bring on some of what the Democrats are proposing with theirs?
Well, I think what you have to look at is that with what the governor is proposing is we haven't seen a plan yet. He is coming to us basically with a handout saying, fund this, and that's not how we operate. And so we want to see a plan, but we also, in addition to that, want to see what our constituents want to see. is, as you brought up, having childcare after 3 o'clock in the afternoon and during the summer is very important. And I would say as well, when it comes to kind of looking at pre-K for all, I want to see results. I want to see that, is this something that actually helps the student? And there are no, that I'm aware of, there is absolutely no data that suggests that a pre-K student having pre-K is further along in their education by the time they get to middle school. It just doesn't exist.
A little less than a minute left here. You know, as Representative Heverin noted, and as the Democrats have noted in their press conferences this week, both of these proposals are long-term proposals. There's going to be an extended sort of rollout here. The message here being it's going to take a long time to sort of address this. If something is not done this year, do we get any closer to achieving that goal?
I think in the long run that it's about continuing to try. I think universal pre-K and what the governor is proposing for universal pre-K makes sense. And I think that it would be advantageous for us in Kentucky to be on the road to universal pre-K, to getting children ready to go to first grade and to have successful matriculation in the education system.
Last word on that, Representative Lockett.
Yeah, I would say it certainly furthers the conversation, which is what we want. Yes, these are long-term solutions. I am not a fan of universal pre-K. I don't believe it works, but it certainly furthers that conversation along, and it's one that we need to have in our state because these are real issues that we need to tackle.
All righty.